to the meeting of the Vernon Township MUA, August 5th, 2021. Statement of compliance. Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this regular meeting has been provided to the public in the press on January 20, 2021. By delivering to the press such notice and posting the same at the municipal building and file with the office of the township clerk. Pledge of allegiance. All right.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
The flag
United
States
States
of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
liberty
and justice for all.
justice for all. All right. No,
Roll call.
get roll call. Go ahead.
Okay, Mike Fury,
Here.
Andy Pitzker,
Here,
Dave McDermott,
Here.
Harry Shortway,
Present.
Scott Galway,
here.
Kristen Wheaton will be late, and Paul Kearney is absent tonight.
The professionals.
So for professionals, we have Don Albright, the administrator, Rich Wenner, MUA attorney, Steve Banoski, engineer, James Chappelle, engineer, and myself, Jacqueline McCabe, the recording secretary.
And good, thank you. We'll go on to number 5, open to the public. Anybody want to make a motion to open to the public?
motion to open to the public for agenda items only.
I'll second that motion.
And a motion by Andy Pitzker, seconded by Dave McDermott. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Is there anybody on who wants to speak?
I do not have anyone raising their hands or anything in the chat, and I have not received anything in my email.
Okay, good. Somebody want to make a motion to close to the public?
I'll make a motion to close it to the public.
Second.
Motion by Dave McDermott, second by Harry Shortway. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? See nobody opposed. We'll go on to number 6, approval of minutes. We'll start with July 1st, 2021. Did everybody have an opportunity to review the minutes from July 1st?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Anybody have an issue with anything in the minutes?
Motion to approve minutes for July 1st, 2021.
Second.
Motion by Andy Pitzker, seconded by Harry Shortway. Do you need a roll call?
We should,
Yep,
we should
we
have a
can.
roll call, yeah.
Mike Fury,
Yes.
Andy Pitzker,
Yes.
Harry Shortway,
Yes.
and Scott Galway.
Yes.
All right, moving on to July 15th, 2021. Minutes. Everybody have a chance to review those minutes?
Mhm.
Any questions or concerns?
One quick question, actually, on both sets of minutes. Are we also putting the Zoom recordings someplace for people to access them?
I had them added to the About Us section of the website.
Okay.
So you could just click right on that and it will take you to our whole YouTube page.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Anybody want to make a motion to approve the minutes from July 15th, 2021?
Motion to approve the meeting minutes from July 15th, 2021.
Anyone? Motion by Eddie Pitzker. Anybody wants a second?
I wasn't present. So
I'll second the motion to approve the minutes from July 15th.
Okay.
Roll
Roll
call.
call. Mike Fury,
Yes.
Andy Pittsger,
Yes?
Kristen Wheaton. Oh, sorry, she's not here. Dave McDermott,
Yes.
and then Scott Galway.
Yes.
Okay, good. Going on to number 7, resolutions. 21-39 is establishing connection fees. Hold on, I got to get down to it. I have a question about this. Now, did we approve this resolution the last meeting?
No, you tabled it.
Oh, we tabled it. So, does anybody have a resolution? I'm sorry, I'm going to go down to it. Resolution 21-39, adoption of connection fees, section 3.2A of the Vernon Township Municipal Utility Authority Rules and Regulations. We're looking to establish new connection fees at $2,332.50 per EDU, effective immediately, and the connection fee shall remain to effect until February 1st, 2022, until the MUA recalculates the connection fee. Everybody had a chance to review this?
Yes.
Any comments or concerns?
The reason we
Anybody?
The reason we tabled this, I'm going back to the meeting minutes from the last time, was it because Kristen didn't have a chance to look at this or read through it? I don't
Yes.
Yes.
I think that was the reason why.
And she's not here at this point. Okay, well, I motion to approve the resolution 21-39.
I'll second it.
Motion by Andy Pittsger, seconded by Harry Shortway. Roll call.
Okay, Mike Fury,
Yes.
Andy Pittsger,
Yes?
Dave McDermott,
Yes.
Harry Shortway,
Yes.
Scott Galway.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to go to resolution 21-40, but I'm going to defer to Danelle. Could you give an explanation of this resolution?
Yeah, sure. So this is the building that used to be the old Snap Fitness that's over by the Daily Bean. This building originally, like years and years ago, it was a residential and commercial development. Then it went to, when it moved to Snap Fitness, it became all commercial. And that was, I believe, the time when they did their initial application to the board for their sewer allocation. They are now reverting it back to commercial and residential. So because of that move back, there's now like a reduction in EDUs. So that's why they had to come before the board. They started in construction, and construction said, they weren't going to do anything until they met with us. So they were sent to us, and this is reducing their EDUs based on what that change of use would be.
And did the engineer look at this?
Yeah, Steve's the one who did the calculations.
The backup data is attached in the minutes.
Yes, yes.
Or in the package.
Anybody have any concerns with resolution 21-40 EDU calculation for 514 Route 515?
Just one question to know. They have not started construction yet, or have they?
They should not have any permits for anything right now.
So
I know the construction won't issue permits without hearing from us, so.
okay, so do we have to go back after this construction is done to confirm that they have built per the EDU size?
No, they're already built. I guess they're just doing maybe some modifications inside to move it back to residential. I mean, I haven't been inside the building, but it's based on square footage, which Steve detailed in his email. So,
Yes. Very good.
I will check. You know what I might do though, because they're doing alterations on the inside. I will send an email to our tax assessor to make sure that it is going to say the number of bedrooms, I guess, that they stated it was going to stay. I don't want them to put in like 3 bedrooms and it'd be a different kind of calculation, I guess.
Should
So
we?
Danelle, I'm sorry, Andy, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mike.
Danelle, would this go into effect after they get their permits and they complete the construction? Then we start, then we change their billing?
You know, that's a good question. I was going to make it effective today, the date of the resolution. Rich, I would like to ask you that question actually, because I would have made it effective today.
So, Mike, could you repeat what your 2 scenarios?
Oh, the question was, they're going for building permits and they're making minor renovations. But we don't know when that's going to be, that's what's going to be completed. And when do we start billing them the new EDU rate? Do we wait till they?
When the permits are closed out.
Yeah, right. That makes sense. So when the permits are closed out, then that's when we change the rates.
So should this resolution not reflect that?
We can,
Amend this?
yeah, if you'd like to make an amendment so that it's effective, we could put language in there that it is effective upon approval from the building department. Rich, does that seem sufficient?
Yeah, that's fine. It's a prophylactic.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of belt and suspenders. That's fine. Yep.
So can we amend it and approve it now, or should we kick
Yes.
this back for
No,
adjustments?
you can amend the resolution to reflect both the reduction in the EDUs based upon the change in use, and then also make it contingent upon or effective upon the closing out of the permits.
Yeah,
Okay.
And that,
I have no problem.
two things.
I have no problem with that.
That'll encourage the property owner to move expeditiously in closing out its permits, which is always a good thing as well.
Right. Right, and that's exactly the reason why I brought it up.
We'll make that change. So if you wanted to make, if the board wanted to make a motion with that change, we'll include that in the resolution.
Motion to approve resolution 21-40 then as amended and discussed.
Perfect.
I'll second that motion.
So motion by Andy Pittsger, seconded by Dave McDermott. Roll call?
Mike Fury,
Yes.
Andy Pittsger,
Yes?
Dave McDermott,
Yes.
Harry Shortway,
I'm going to abstain, potential conflict of interest.
okay, Scott Galway.
Yes.
All right, moving on to number 8, administrators update. Danelle?
Sure, I can
Pardon me?
jump right in.
Just
Oh,
wanted
yes,
to
can
say
we make
hello.
note that Kristen is here?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. You want to make a note that Kristen arrived? Thank you, Kristen. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you. Good, thank you. Apologies to the board for tardiness.
Okay, we forgive you.
Okay, so
Go
I'll
ahead.
jump right in.
Go ahead,
So,
Janelle.
yep, so pump station 2, obviously we talked about the permits were filed. I think we're just waiting to hear back. Steve, you can correct me if I'm wrong there, but we're just waiting to hear back from the DEP on those. Have you heard anything? I actually did not touch base with you on that this week.
Yep. So I know that we had some discussions on our last meeting too about developing a more detailed schedule, and that would primarily be based on addition of the funding mechanism and procedures and steps. So I did have a couple conversations with Payush. Now I'm a little confused here because Payush is our permit reviewer. I think it's the same Payush. But he couldn't connect me with the right person he's basically a technical person. He couldn't connect me to the right person, or he tried to connect me to the right person and who would help us with some of the administrative things that we need to get through in the beginning here. And he was not, we haven't been able to make that connection yet. I know, Donnell, if you could make a meeting request, I'm not sure if you saw the email I sent on that. There's an online mechanism to make a meeting request to kind of get the ball rolling, if you will, on
Okay.
iBank type stuff. And once we have that, we'll have a better view of things. But I talked to Payush, and he our TWA application went to the top of his pile this week, so that was encouraging news.
Okay, and I just
Hey,
sent the
Steve,
pre-planning meeting
I'm sorry.
request, so.
Hey, Danelle, hold on a second. Steve, I thought Payush was the technical reviewer for the iBank, but not for DEP.
He does both. He's
Wow,
a
I
DEP.
didn't. Hold on.
The
Yeah.
DEP has to review the stuff through iBank before it even like moves forward to other people in iBank, if that makes sense. Like they review like our initial application and then it's supposed to move forward.
Because part of the iBank procedure is they want projects to have permits before they get too far along in the iBank process.
Okay.
Did we lose Steve?
I think we might have lost Steve. Okay. Danelle?
Yes, I'm here. I think we lost Steve.
All right. Yeah, he's frozen.
Let him know.
So just to summarize, we've made contact with the technical reviewer. It looks like we're moving forward. At the same time, we're establishing the funding mechanism along with getting approval for building construction.
Correct.
We're getting a permit for that, and that's good news. That's very good news.
So the next, and that kind of leads sort of into the force main evaluation. So obviously the force main evaluation was part of the asset management plan. I did include Dewberry, Steve's report for the force main evaluations that would be included in the asset management plan. I mean, it's up to the board, but if the board feels they have enough time to review that asset management plan and Dewberry's report on that, we could do a resolution for the next meeting to approve the asset management plan, which, then I would notify iBank that we've approved the asset management plan, which obviously has Pump Station 2 in there as part of our project. So, which we would need to do, right, in order to get approval for Pump Station 2 anyway. So that's up to the board if that's what they would like to have, or we could maybe wait until the first meeting in September.
Well, let me jump in there. I think it's important for the MUA members to review that asset management plan and all the Dewberry reports, and we need to approve this asset management plan as soon as possible. Isn't the funding for the pump station connected to an approval of the asset management plan?
Yes. Well, sort of. So basically our asset management plan, we got funding for the asset management plan for $105,000 to cover those costs through iBank. iBank will give us back all that principal. We will not have to pay that. They'll forgive the principal. Sorry, I couldn't think of the word. They'll forgive that $105,000, provided that we get approval for financing for a project that's listed in the asset management plan, which for us would be Pump Station 2. So that's how they're tied together. It's not that it's one's contingent on the other. It's more like the asset management plan. We don't have to pay back that principal if we fund Pump Station 2 with them.
But to close out the asset management plan, the MUA has to approve it.
Correct.
So we could just finalize it and get the funding and then just square that away and put it behind us.
Yes.
And then I would consider that a major accomplishment for the MUA. I think it's something we should try to do. So if, like Danelle says, let's everybody a chance to, it's quite a document. If you want to review it, look it over, and then we'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting to approve.
And if any board members want physical paper copies, because it is a very large document, we can print those here and you can pick them up if you would like to review them in paper, because I think it's like I literally have to send like 4 different emails for you to receive the whole asset management plan because they're too big to send as one big file.
Right.
Can I state one thing? So at the last meeting for the Pump Station 3 evaluation that was done, I know Andy questioned one of the grades for one of the defects. So upon further review, it appears to us as though that is that defect is overstated. grade 5, which is, the most extreme poor grade, would result from a 30% restricted pipe diameter, which it does not appear to be the case there. So we're trying to get the cook who did that CCTV to take another look at that and see if they, to double check that they feel as though that grade is appropriate.
Yeah, Steve, I didn't hear back from them. I did reach out to them. So I actually just emailed them again and CC'd you on it to ask for an update because I emailed them a week ago. So.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the sewer service area mapping, the state did approve the town center mapping at the beginning of July. So the next step there for the township is that the township will need to have a public hearing. Hopefully, I don't know if it's going to be in August. I think it's supposed to be in August for the town to, I guess, approve that. And then hopefully everything will go through on where our sewer service area is after that approval based on a town center designation. And then we can kind of move forward from there. Updates on the capital items. Obviously, the sheet has been updated. If anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out. We are replacing we've returned the control panels that we originally got. After having Ray Coronado come out about something else, when he was out there, he took a look at the control panel that Gem Electric had installed, and he immediately called me up and then called Mike up and said we should not have it set up that way. So based on Ray's experience, I mean, the guy has decades of experience. We want it done right. I understand that the electrician, made it work and it works and it functions, but, it should really be done right. We want it to not just function for now. So we're getting the correct custom panels made. And we should have pay to play resolution at the next meeting for that approval. And then I think it's a 2 or 3 week waiting period. Jackie, did he say 2 to 3 weeks? I have to go back and look at his email.
I have to go look, but he said it was probably around 3 weeks or so.
Yeah.
Are we doing,
And then Ray will come in and install them so that they're done correctly. And so that we also can get, the correct notifications through the Sentinel system for them as well.
now, are we doing 4 panels or are we going to do all 5 panels?
We had 4 panels. We did not order, the 5th panel would have been over at Black Creek, but we didn't do a panel there. We just did the lift stations in the condos.
Okay. 'Cause
So
I know they actually have one panel piggybacked up against the other one, which is what they rewired, right? Is that going to
Yes.
all come off?
We are going for 4 panels.
Okay.
And it's just over the 17.5 threshold. So that's why we need to have a pay to play resolution at the next meeting. I did reach out to another company and they were way, way more than North Jersey Pumps. So we're definitely saving going with Ray. So that's being taken care of. Also on the capital item list, I just need to get it
I'm
up.
sorry. So were those panels, how recently were they installed?
We only installed the one control panel. We had Jen come and install it. Well, we checked with Jen to see if that was the correct panel, and they said yes. Yes, it'll work.
How did it get selected?
We spoke with Jen about what we needed.
Okay,
and
they
then we
furnished the
ordered
wrong.
it. We ordered it from Blue Book, and they installed it, and it was functioning. But when Ray came out about something else, he had taken a look and he said that's really not the panel you should have.
Okay.
So,
Can we
and
resell
Janelle-
it or we get a refund or?
oh yeah, we sent them back. We're sending them
Okay.
back.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Sorry about my
Yeah,
mistake.
just to add to what Danelle's saying, it too is those control panels need to be compatible with the pumps and to work correctly. So it is highly advisable that we go with the right control panels. I'm glad we were able to return them and then get the right ones and then do it the right way. So go ahead, Danelle. Sorry.
Yep. No, it's okay. Ray also, we asked for his advice, how we spoke with him about the Zoller pumps versus the Sulzer pumps, because we were going to go with Zoller pumps. Ray's actually more comfortable with the Sulzer pumps based on, what we have it for. We have it for mostly residential, not big commercial. So he would prefer that we stick with the Sulzer pumps. And once we have the correct panels, he thinks that that's really the way to go. So we're going to, again, take his advice. And then for all of the fencing and the railings and stuff, that installation is supposed to take place not next week, the week after that.
The week of the
Um,
16th.
Yes. So hopefully that will it'll go well. And we just received one of the quotes for one of the blowers at Pump Station 2, and we're waiting on another quote to decide which one we want to go with. Let's see what else. Water infrastructure. So everybody got James's his technical memo that was actually sent to the council a couple of days ago. Or yesterday. I feel like that was 4 days ago. Yesterday I sent to Marcy so council could review it to go with all of the backup that was originally sent for the America Rescue Plan funding capital ordinance. So I believe that is supposed to be on for Monday night to do, to give the township the ability to use that funding for water and or sewer infrastructure. We also had a meeting with Mountain Creek and the township, and obviously, and James was there to discuss water, and we are going to meet again on James, the 17th, to discuss their needs. Right now, they just came out of bankruptcy. Last year, they just took over, ownership of the company. So they have ideas for expansion, but it's not really written in stone. They have some ideas that they like that were prior ideas from former owners, years and years ago. But they obviously want to adjust that to the current times. So they don't have the exact number for daily water that they're going to need, but they're working with their engineer Mario, and James is working on our side to determine, based on what the township's needs are going to be, will Mountain Creek have enough water from Suez? Are they going to have to get water elsewhere? They have their own wells. There's, other sources of water they might be able to possibly get water from. So we're kind of researching that just so that we can make sure that everyone's taken care of with as far as water at town center. I don't know if James, you have anything to add to that?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. Yeah, I think Mountain Creek is just such a, far ways away from understanding like what they might develop there. That I think it's just a little easier to work backwards right now and figure out what the town's water needs are. So, we have the follow-up meeting in a couple of weeks, and hopefully we just keep progressing.
Hey, James, this is Mike. Can you just briefly describe the water infrastructure that's needed in town center? So the MUA has a good understanding of what we're talking about.
Sure. So I think I think you're referring to the estimate we put together and the infrastructure that would need to be upgraded, right, to provide water to the area of town that you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, we took the report that was done in 2016 from Buck Seifert and Joss. We had a meeting with Corey where we discussed certain things that had transpired since that 2016 date. One of those things in the BS&J report where they said it's not feasible to upgrade these well pumps. At the meeting with Corey, it was discussed that either there is new technology that those the existing wells could have the pumps upgraded to supply the amount of water that Suez was talking about, the additional 400 gallons per minute. So with that's a big cost difference, right? If we have to drill complete new wells, it's obviously going to be more expensive than if you could upgrade the existing well pumps. So that needed to be taken into account in the memo. Also, when we talked to Corey, the BS&J report didn't include any water piping down 515 in front of Acme. And at our meeting, we talked about running a water main approximately 2,500 feet. So that was taken into account. So there was a couple differences, but the cost estimates were done in such a way that there was 4 alternatives, and based on what we find out in the future, one of those alternatives we think would be what would be necessary to run infrastructure. But again, it's based on the BS&J report with slight tweaks based on new understandings. That answer that, Mike?
Yeah, that's fine. Anybody have any questions for James about this? Because so you get a better understanding of what's going on. Any questions about the report? Because there is quite a bit of detail, and that's what's going to be considered for on Monday by the town council. So, anybody have any questions?
Well, we have 4 different options right now, right, James?
Right.
But do we know which one is probably the best option or closest to the best option, or are we going to be looking at this until we get a conclusion of all the details?
Yeah, I think,
valve sizes or pump sizes and whatnot.
sure. I think from, it seems like the tank option is more favorable from our conversations that, again, we had with Corey. It seems like that's the direction we want to go. So let's just assume we go with the tank option, right? That leaves 2 alternatives.
2, right.
Or 2 of the 4 alternatives. If the wells, if there is this new well technology that the existing wells can be upgraded, that kind of narrows it down to the one alternative. If the wells, if that is not true and the wells do need to be re-drilled, then you have to go to the other alternative. So we could basically narrow that down if we could get more information about what is actually existing. I've even heard that Suez might have already upgraded those wells, you know, to the 600 gallon per minute pumps. So I don't know what is true right now, but I think the tank option, and then hopefully we could upgrade the wells and we don't need to drill new wells. That would be, I guess, the preferred. And again, just one little caveat is that the BS&J report, we're assuming that they did all the hydraulic analysis, you know, that everything that they said is accurate, we took as true. So, so that's kind of, yeah, we're basing a lot off the work that they had done previously in 2016.
So the estimates that are being brought forth to town council or the cost, do we have a firm cost? Because I haven't had a chance to look at all the documentation. I just got it today.
It's hard to really put a firm cost together given how preliminary everything is at this time. We call this an order of magnitude estimate because there's really no engineering done. For example, you know, the price of a tank or constructing a tank, you might be able to understand what that cost is, but things that are like site driven, like access to the site, or if a site needs, or the foundation of the tank needs to be pile driven versus like a spread footing, that's going to be a dramatically different cost, but you really won't know those factors until you really get more into the nitty gritty and you progress a design. So that's why we kind of tried to give a range of where we think the prices could come in at, but it is an order of magnitude estimate, so it is pretty preliminary.
I need to take a look at that ordinance and see how detailed is that ordinance, Danella, when it comes to outlining that?
The ordinance. Hold on for 1 second. I just want to bring up the actual ordinance. The ordinance does not detail all of that. Wait, hold on.
So the one thing I would say is like some of, sorry, go ahead, Danielle.
No, go right ahead.
So the estimates, we tried to explain some of this in like the descriptions. So basically, you know, that's why we kind of tried to make a range, right? A low cost, for example, the deep pile foundation. If that is required, it could be a range of 100 to 200,000, but it might not be required. So we tried to set that range based on the 2 scenarios, at least for that example, that we thought would be realistic, and tried to set like the range. But again, if you come across like all the worst case scenarios, you're going to be looking closer to that upper limit for the respective estimate.
Yeah, Andy, just to jump in, like James said, this is not a estimate of cost. This is just a rough estimate of cost based on what they know now. You're going to have to get into engineering design and to detail to get actual cost. And then obviously it's going to, when the when the design is complete, you're going to have to go to bid for construction costs, and you're not going to know those costs until you get bids back. So this is just a level of detail that you can give. So, and what we're trying to do is look at BSJ's 2016 report, what they estimated it's going to be, and then try to confirm all that with our analysis. So I think it was as thorough as it could possibly be.
So just so I'm clear, the objective of the ordinance is to direct those funds towards improving the infrastructure in the town center. That's basically what the ordinance says, correct?
Yes,
Correct.
the ordinance says, it says about sewer service, it says about sewer service for future sewer service expanded areas, right? So that would be talking about any area that did not already have piping in it. And then it says number 3 is connecting to or providing service for potable water service, including all tanks, well sources of supply, buildings, pipes, lines, conduits, mains, equipment, pumps, devices, together with all site work, engineering, planning, attachments, accessories, and equipment necessary, therefore incidental thereto. All the ordinance does is allow you to spend the funds for those options. So just like Mike, you said, there's no like set, very detailed per, pricing plan, because we don't have extensive engineering and design and planning and design on these projects yet. We can't do that because that funding would come out of this ordinance.
Additional monies are going to be needed to do this, though. This 1.7 is not going to pay for it. We'll have to bond
Correct.
one.
Correct.
And
This ordinance, basically, if the township council wishes to adopt it, it just shows that you are using the American Rescue Plan money. You are setting it aside and saying, this is what we want to use that money for. And that's the only thing you can use the money for, the items that are listed in the ordinance.
Right. And just to add to that, what's really important in order to sit down and meet with Mount Suez again to work out the details of any kind of agreement for water supply, I think if we pass this ordinance, and it's the importance of passing the ordinance is that it shows that the township is serious about upgrading their water infrastructure to do something about getting more water to town center. I think it'll be helpful to hash out an agreement eventually with Suez, and then at the same time we brought in Mountain Creek because they may have water supply needs for their area. So there's a lot of moving parts, but in order for Suez to take us seriously, because they've been discussing this for years, they want to be able to actually move forward with what we call phase 3, which Harry is aware of. There was phase 1 and phase 2. This would be essentially phase 3, completing all the water supply to town center and to get that infrastructure in there in order to, and the hope is if you bring the water to the town center, it increases sewer amount of sewer in town center, and then brings more EDUs to the system and trying to stabilize our rates. So it is part of a master plan.
So, and if one of the engineers would correct me on this, what's important is that water tank, because that'll help with fire suppression. And therefore, it would lessen the cost of any new development, correct? Correct, because they wouldn't have to put an underground tank in or other water sources. If we have that water tank in there, that will help save cost to any developer for the fire suppression.
Steve, could you weigh in on that?
Yeah, I would say that's yes to that. I mean, to answer that question, Harry, if a developer goes in and starts developing in town center and they need fire suppression, sometimes they build mini tanks in order to have that storage in order for fire suppression. So if like we have a couple water systems, we have a shop right in Byram. They have the storage tank is built not only for water supply, but it's also built to enable fire suppression, which is about 3 or 4 times more the usage for the normal usage. So to answer your question, this provides a large storage tank, to the whole town center, and it can supply everybody.
because that was a major issue why we completed phase 2 so fast, because the municipal building had no fire suppression because the tank that was in the ground was just rusted away. So until the fire company got
Correct.
there, the town did not have the town hall did not have a fire suppression system. So I think this also makes it easier for anyone to develop in the town center for their construction costs. They wouldn't have to put
yeah.
tank or anything.
Yeah, it reduces their cost a lot, Harry. It reduces their a tremendous cost. And if you bring water supply and sewer to their property, that's advantageous for them.
And this also locks the township in for the most part, that's where the money's going. And we've talked about this for years and years, and we finally have new businesses showing a lot of interest of coming into the town center. So, and that's why I'm going to support it.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I do a lot of work for municipalities, and a lot of these municipalities in North Jersey, they're all using their money for water and sewer infrastructure. It's almost all of it. Borough Wanacue, Rockaway, South River, there's a few others, Ringwood. They are taking advantage of these funds to upgrade their water and sewer. Anything else to know?
Yeah, one last thing. The township did all the installation for the hardware for having hybrid meetings. They did all of that in the council chambers. We did have a test meeting as well with IT, so I did like a couple of test Zoom meetings with them. So we just need some training on the actual system and how to work with it and run the online meeting in conjunction with an in-person meeting. And hopefully we can start to have meetings in September, I believe, is what Chuck has said. So, that's obviously up to the board. If they want to have the hybrid meetings, we can do that. Or
yeah, what's everybody's thoughts on hybrid meetings or in person versus hybrid? I'd like to get everybody's feedback on that.
Well,
I'll jump. Go ahead, Andrew. Go ahead.
Yeah, probably you and I have the same opinion here, is that right now, Mike, with everything that's going on with the new mandates coming back and the flashpoints with Delta, I am going to say for the safety of the public, we wait until we get the government's approval here or get a little bit more clarity before we go back into any face-to-face meeting. I'm okay with hybrid. I think it's a good option for us to have. It's easy to use and the system is set up, but I think we have to talk about community safety first. And that's part of this. That's my 2 cents.
Anybody else? Harry?
Well, I agree the community safety is a major issue, and with all this concern with the Delta, I mean, kind of my target date, the council's with me on this, is to go in September as far as the council meetings, and hopefully the other committees also will start, but this definitely throws a lot of concern. I don't, we're not going to stand there and say, hey, you vaccinated, and then we're going to have to worry about everybody's supposed to be. The mayor has a directive in, everybody still has to wear a mask, but then we're going to have to make sure we still keep the 6-foot distancing. So I favor both, in person and hybrid, but I think September's is a date, a goal, or objective to set it by, but I think we really have to watch. We still have to work out the bugs with the system, make sure everybody is trained on how to work the system. And once it's up and running, whether it's September or October, I think people are really going to like it. And this, for those bad weather nights when people don't want to come to the municipal hall, they can stay home and watch it by Zoom. So I think they did a good job. Like I said, we're looking at September, but we're also looking for community safety and what safeguards we have to take depending on what the recommendations are by the experts and what the science says.
Right. It also gives us a little bit more benefit going hybrid, is that our professionals don't always have to be there for the whole part of this. So instead of, having them travel an hour just for the meeting, we may be able to maintain this hybrid to get the best of both worlds. The requirement for the committee would have to be, the commissioners would be to be in attendance.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with both of you. Anybody else? Any other thoughts from Kristen or Scott?
I'm definitely in favor of hybrid meetings. I think it's, I mean, with or without the pandemic, it's a great way to get, more participation in what we're doing and to have more people able to share and see, the kinds of things that we're working on. That's it.
Thanks, Kristen. Anybody else, Scott?
Yeah, I agree. I think that the remote or virtual meetings, it casts a wider net, right? It gives people the opportunity, if you're away, to be able to still attend instead of have to be in there, right? So we can all continue to have a good presence here at the meeting. So I'm in favor.
Thanks. Dave?
Absolutely, safety comes first. We can conduct our business in a Zoom fashion, and so why should we push the envelope?
All right, that seems good. We'll wait and see, and then we'll decide as things go. Anything else, Danelle?
No, that's it for me.
All right, good. Is there? I don't know if there's I know Howie's not here, but there's any update from Howie that has to be mentioned, or no?
No, not really. They did help Green Realty. He did go over to Green Realty, as well as the failing building, but Green Realty was having an issue finding the line to hook into. I believe they were digging on the wrong side of where it was supposed to be, but he helped them find it. So hopefully they will be hooked up now. That's about it. I think just wanted to let you guys know about that. So that should be taken care of.
Well, I want to mention one thing. I talked to Chris Steelman, who's our backup operator, who goes there once a month, and he did mention to me the credit of Howie and all the guys working on site. He says everything is looking very good. He says he's really impressed on how well everything is being maintained. So I just wanted to mention that, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to number 10. We talked about the asset management plan. Danelle, I guess to reiterate, we want to just review that asset management plan. Anybody wants a copy of it, they can get it. Is there any questions? We're going to try to get that on the next agenda in order to approve the plan and then put it behind us. So is there anything else about that, Danelle, or anybody have any questions about the asset management plan?
If I could just make the statement that I'm so happy this has finally been done, because I know this has been a pet peeve of mine for over 6 years now. And I think it just shows how the commissioners, how professional you are, and how you're looking at long-term goals and saving, in the end, the ratepayers and taxpayers are all on the hook for this to keep this system up, running, and progressively improving at all times. So thank you.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks, Harry. New business, Snowshoe Alpine Trail Homes. Why don't you, I know she sent out an email about this with an explanation. Can you just give us an explanation what this is about?
Yeah, so I'm going to kind of tag team this with Steve. So we met with Snowshoe and Alpine Trail, the developer, for 4 homes. Originally, it was 4 homes that were going to be up there. I believe we met with them in February, correct me if I'm wrong, please, to discuss their plans for up there, because they would have to extend into the main that's kind of more in like the condo area, if that makes sense. And there's some other things they need to do, like a lift station needs to be installed. And we kind of just wanted to have a meeting as they had to do an application through land use for one of those homes. And they wanted to, kind of walk our application process alongside of that, right, to make sure everything is done at the same time and it doesn't get delayed. So we met with them. They submitted applications and information to Steve. It's been kind of an ongoing process over the past few months. They did reach out to Rich and myself and Steve. They did request to come and speak to the board tonight. So they actually are attendees. I don't know if Steve wants to give a little bit of background as well before, I'll ask Jackie to go ahead and let them all speak. If they would like to speak, we did, we did kind of say, yeah, you can come to the meeting and talk to the board about it. There are some outstanding items still on Steve's list. I believe you guys did receive his most recent review, application review number 2. That's in your packet, with some of his outstanding items. That maybe, I don't know if we want to go through every single one of those, or Steve has some specific ones that maybe the developer wants to address while we're here in front of the board. So this can kind of move forward. Steve, you can take it away if you would like.
Sure. So right now there's an application. The application's actually in for 4 homes. That's just the way the application's written. Currently, the plans are really providing service to 3 homes. So maybe the application would need to be revised to 3 homes. And this involves connection to the gravity sewer system up it's like Greg Norman Court, I believe it is, up in the condos. And overall, the proposal is that there would be a small pump station similar to the is it 3 or 4 up in the condos. A small force main similar to what's up in the condos, and a few segments of gravity sewer. Some of which go down to the pump station, some of which connect into Greg Norman Court. So there has been some, ongoing back and forth on some, some technical things, which for the most part have been worked out, I guess I would say. There's some ongoing discussion with the need for easements, being that part of the work will occur in, or part of the infrastructure and part of the work will occur in the Greg Norman Court, property owned by the, over at Stonehill, and the Alpine Trail and Snowshoe themselves are private roads, so presumably easements would be needed there too. I know there was some discussions with the township a few weeks back just to confirm their to make sure their interests as the infrastructure owner are satisfied, I guess I would say. And one thing as far as ownership of the infrastructure, to my knowledge, it's kind of been assumed that the applicant would want the township/MUA to take over ownership and maintenance of this infrastructure, but that has not quite been confirmed yet, to my knowledge. That is kind of a few extra tidbits there, I guess.
Yes. So I don't. Yes.
Is this somebody on from the developer?
Yes, we're actually, Jackie, if you want to unmute them, we have George, James, and Pete that are here on behalf of the developer.
Hey guys.
Okay.
James Polis from Skank Price Smith & King. Can everyone hear me?
No, can you turn up a little bit the volume?
Yeah. Is this better for everyone?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Hey, appreciate the time this evening. Again, James Polis. I'm counsel at Skank Price Smith & King in Florham Park. Counsel to Snowshoe Homes LLC, Principal Paul Weibel, who I believe is on the line. We have Pete Califoot, project manager, amongst other hats that he wears, and George Glody, who's our project engineer. Accurate summation by Danelle and Steve, which was just given. Want to say thanks again and appreciate the time Danelle and Steve have given to us. And indeed, it did begin in the beginning of February, and we did proceed, and we have received from the Land Use Board approval to construct a single-family home on Lot 12. Currently, the plan is for 3 homes up there, although there's 4 lots. The other homes can be built, quote unquote, as of right, or there would be no bulk variances that would otherwise be required for us to come to the Land Use Board to get approval for. Also adequately or accurately described is the kind of unique situation with regard to what we're doing and the sewer connection. not putting in septics like a majority of the other homes in the township. We have the benefit and the ability to connect right into the sewer, which we would like to do, and we would like to avail ourselves to that. We ourselves are not interested in being a sewer utility ourselves, so of course, dedicating that infrastructure that would be installed and the pump station would be the ideal scenario, which we think we can accommodate with the oversight of the township engineer, the MUA's engineer, when it comes to installation and the ultimate dedication of the infrastructure so that it is to the standard that the MUA and township can keep and maintain in the future. With regards to the actual technical plans that have been submitted, I had the opportunity to speak with our engineer, George Glody, this morning. George had the opportunity to draft a reply memorandum to Mr. Banoski's July 29th memo. George's memo is dated August 2nd, 2021, and I believe George also had a follow-up conversation with Steve, basically putting bows on some of the technical requirements that were involved with some of the requirements, and it's my understanding that those are satisfactory to the MUA. I guess one of the outstanding issues, or maybe the last outstanding issue that's maybe been a hang up for some of us, and let me take a step back. We meaning my office, penned correspondence to MUA's counsel requesting that written confirmation of the status of the MUA application and that all escrow fees have been posted by my client be sent to the building and construction department so that building permits could be issued so we can get to work up there. Fortunately, with COVID and some of the constraints on raw materials and other sourcing of materials, the client has found a way through that. It's been an obstacle. There's been obstacles to say the least, but with receipt of certain materials and approvals from the land use board, and otherwise not needing approvals from land use board because they're as of right, we'd like to get started and putting some foundations in. Where that leaves us is the lawyering, and nobody likes the lawyering. Everybody gets bored by the lawyering. But I think what it comes down to at the end of the day is my office, counsel for the MUA, and even the township council as well, coming together with an understanding with regards to, one, as I briefly mentioned, the ownership of infrastructure, and two, negotiation of any easements. My office is more than happy to draft those easements to the satisfaction of the MUA and the township and to coordinate same with regards to related property owners. As you can tell by, us beginning the dialogue in February, promptly filing a land use board application, and even requesting an appearance tonight, which we, thank Danelle and you guys for obliging us with this opportunity. We're eager to keep the project moving forward. And I think at this time, the only reservation that I heard earlier from the MUA's counsel was that the MUA was not inclined to, issue such a written approval to the building and construction department. I guess we're taking this opportunity now to, flesh out any issues. Again, project professionals are on the line to put the MUA at ease with regards to any questions or concerns, and really work in conjunction with you guys with regards to thoughts as to how to move forward so that we can apply for and obtain building and construction permits while on a parallel path, negotiating and drafting the various easements that should be pretty straightforward with the related parties.
James, or no, I said Rich Wenner. Just to clarify, I know, thanks, James, for that explanation. What's the order does this have to go in? And like when is it where we have to consider the application and then approve it? Is this after they get permits for construction, or how does that work?
Thanks, Mike. So, no, so James, the reason James is here on behalf of his client is because they can't get the permits until the MUA blesses the application that's before it. So, the crux of it's kind of, in some ways, it's a chicken and the egg scenario, just on a larger scale, due to the fact that, but for the MUA issuing its approval on the application before it, they can't get the building permits. But we're reluctant, and I personally, and James was correct when he represented that. I didn't feel it was something that we could just do without bringing it before the board, and reluctant to recommend an authorization or approval of an application when there were some one, technical issues still outstanding, which Steve has talked about in his reports, and then two, it's not a complicated issue regarding the easements and ownership and management, but it is. It's also not, a simple issue or one that can just happen. So it's a three-party situation, really, right? It's the township agreeing to take ownership over the assets because we don't own assets. It's the applicant agreeing to obviously transfer ownership, and then we would, in our capacity as the asset managers, take over the management of those assets. That would, of course, include the easement documents that James referenced. And in terms of acquiring easements from any third parties on behalf of the applicant itself, would have to acquire perhaps easements from third parties and then transfer those over. I don't know the answer to that, but whether Stonehill and the association has a role in this as well is something that James can answer when he has the opportunity to do so. But it's a little bit complicated. The idea is not complicated. The fact that I believe all parties are on the same page in terms of it being something that wants to get done, that they all want to get done, not complicated. But my reluctance stems from the fact that if we go ahead and approve the application, permits are issued, and then something goes sideways on the easement documents, or they can't get access, or the township says, well, we don't really want this. We want this headache for, or whatever it might be. And now we've got construction going on, but no clear path to a final project due to the fact that we have the outstanding sewer issues. So that's really what it comes down to in a nutshell. I know, James, you're looking to get foundation permits at least.
Correct. And oh, sorry, Rich.
No, go ahead. No, go for it.
Yeah, no, and I think, correct, foundation permits is what we're looking for. It's a first step. I think with a bit of due diligence that we've done and that we're continuing to do with regards to necessary parties, that we can come to and provide both the MUA and the township with a road path forward in the near future. My client obviously has put in great time and expense, to see this project forward. It's my understanding he understands, what it goes into doing all this. If at the end of the day something happens, I'd be loath to think that he would go much further than a foundation permit or constructing a foundation without much progress on, or significant progress on, the easement issue and ownership in the very near future, right? And I think at the end of the day as well, the MUA and your board is buoyed also by the fact that, you guys and the Township Engineering Department has the ultimate sign off of whether or not these get connected to sewer. I mean, it's our representation here that, septic fields are not going to go in. We need to connect to the sewer. We're confident we can be able to do that. But at the end of the day, if there is that 1 in a million chance that, you kind of bring up there, and I'm putting words in your mouth as that percentage goes, but if there's the unlikely chance that, the township and or the MUA don't want to be involved with this, it's my representation right now, and the client understands that's, a bit of the risk that he takes when he's making this request to kind of move these things forward, even though the easements, aren't, fully drafted, by and between the parties, signed in wet ink and ready to be, delivered to the county for recording.
And those are good points that James makes, just for the board's understanding. The approval of an application obviously can come with conditions. The the builder obviously would be proceeding at its own risk if the approval was conditioned on certain factors occurring and it was not able to meet those conditions. Then it would have invested money and would not be able to proceed further unless it pivoted from, as James indicated, its desire to install or to connect rather to the system itself. It would then have to design, construct, and install septic fields. So that is an important consideration in terms of getting a level of comfort with this application and a level of comfort in the event the application is approved on a technical end from Steve, or Steve feels comfortable that, okay, we can move forward. Then you could, as a condition of approval, limit it to the foundation permits being issued until such further time as the easement documents and ownership and everything else, and that arrangement is further fleshed out, or not, however you want to play it. But I thought it was very important that the board have a full, complete understanding of what this application is actually about and some of the more unusual issues, not unusual, but not as frequently occurring issues that are attendant to it.
And Rich, this is Mike. It's further complicated by the fact that this MUA doesn't actually own the assets. It's the township owns the assets. And if they were going to transfer ownership, it would have to be transfer ownership to the township, not the MUA. And I'm not sure if
you're 100% correct.
I'm not sure if yeah. So I want to make sure that James and all the people online, that they understand that, and that's I think that has to be pointed out during the application process, and the conditions, and you have to set those conditions based on the fact that we don't own the assets.
Yeah.
Right. And Donnell, Steve, Charles Volker, and Josh Zielinski and I did have a conference call, and we discussed all these issues. The township is aware, but you're absolutely correct. It's a three-party, accepting out Stonehill. It's a three-party arrangement between the MUA, the township, and the applicant. So obviously, it's important that the township is willing to assume ownership over those assets.
Yeah, and the other thing that I wanted to add, if we take over the operation of the lift station, there's operational costs associated with that, taking on that responsibility, which would be the responsibility of the MUA, because now we're essentially the operator of the system. So there'll be expenses associated with that.
Yeah. This is James again. Thanks for bringing up those 2 points, Mike. Yes, absolutely. Ownership. I mean, I can speak to, just, my firm's relationship, and, we do have a working relationship with the township attorney's office. I don't believe communication and working through these issues would be a problem. As to continued maintenance and that relative cost, I don't know that I can speak to that. I'm sure there are related mechanisms in the code, vis-a-vis connection fees, et cetera, and other mechanisms, which, I'm not going to steer out of my lane to try to posit and, say how that gets covered, but yeah, that would be the idea going forward.
Yeah, and on a positive note, we did reduce our connection fees tonight at this meeting.
Well, that's fortuitous timing, I guess, on a couple of levels. I'd like to hear that.
Yeah, James. So each house is estimated to generate 2 EDUs.
Yes,
approximately.
I believe if George is on the line, he can confirm, but I think that's right, and Steve can confirm for us too, I think.
And I mean, the township, we've been after additional EDUs because we're paying for literally air in the sewer pipes with a 461,000 gallon a day obligation when we're pumping about 208 10L or somewhere around there, right?
Yes.
So I guess the short term, you're looking for the go ahead to start the foundation. Any further development would depend on obtaining those easements and finalizing the technical plans, but it would be at the developer's risk.
Yeah, that's correct. And I'll leave it to your counsel to advise or to craft maybe some type of language for a condition for your consideration. But yes, ultimately is what we'd be requesting is some type of written confirmation to the building department that our escrows are paid and up to date, which I believe they are, and that the application is approved pending certain conditions and certain milestone checkpoints be reached. And that would, I don't know if your council has an idea how to craft that language. I would say, we can, we're willing to come back to you on a periodic basis to your meetings. We can, do periodic check-ins with Steve in an informal basis and get sign off as far as, progressing further than, foundation permits should, sufficient proof of progress with regards to relative easements and related legal documents pursuant to the, sign off on MUA council and township council. Maybe that's something we consider as well. However we can work it as smoothly as possible to keep everybody in the loop. That's what we're looking to do.
Now, I know you don't speak obviously for the HOA, but is there any issues, any perceivable pushback from the HOA?
My understanding is that the location of some of the infrastructure that we're talking about will have limited, if any, impact on the HOA. Obviously, as far as a flow and number of units goes, clearly only 3 single-family homes is not like we're proposing a 50-unit residential complex up there. So I don't know that that's a problem, and the relative, size or lack thereof of this quote-unquote pump station. I think the phrase maybe calls to mind something that's, a bit bigger and more complex in nature than what it actually is. And given the relative proposed location and specs, I could kick to your engineer, Steve, to, give you some comfort in that. But I'm not seeing it, and it doesn't give me pause. And again, it doesn't give our client pause to the fact that he wouldn't be willing to, make this ask of the MUA tonight.
And I just wanted to add one additional thing. I think I'd be remiss if I didn't, because the discussion has been that, we're largely been submitted and what's being the design and everything. So the only thing is there is a question about the need for a DEP paperwork approval. So assuming everything goes forward, we would just need some official correspondence that stating that the treatment works, to us, it's not crystal clear that treatment works is or isn't needed for these improvements. So we would need official correspondence stating that it's not needed and why. So I just want.
Yep. Absolutely. And just so that your board's aware, that's additional comment number 23, I believe, on the July 29 memo as replied by George on August 2nd. Happy to make that a condition as well, and we will get to the bottom of that and get the written yay or nay from the DEP with regard to that.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understood the impetus or the hardship, why you're requesting us to do this.
Because we can't move forward with construction. We've been advised by the township. We've been advised by the township that no permits for foundation will issue until we have written confirmation from the MUA of the approved status of the application and the receipt and full funding of any escrows that are outstanding or fees paid to date.
Understood. I guess.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but that's not what I was told by the construction official. The construction official won't issue permits until you have connection fees paid to both us and SCUMA.
Something that I have not been told. I mean, if I could take a minute, I'll sidebar with my client and maybe I'll just put myself on mute. I'm not sure what that entails or when you were advised of that. I don't know that through my conversation with Mr. Wenner that was ever told to my office. And again, like we mentioned earlier, I did you know, draft correspondence to Mr. Wenner with regards to what I knew of the situation, and I might be missing it, but Rich, maybe you can fill me in. Did your correspondence mention connection fees?
No.
Okay, so I think this is, you know, I'm not going to put words in your council's mouth, but I think this is the first that I'm hearing of that.
Right, but I'm just saying that's a township thing, so it wouldn't be from the MUA anyway.
Okay, well, yeah, in any event, look, step one is step one, and we can only ask from the MUA what you guys can give, and I appreciate that and appreciate the candor. So, you know, our ask here is, you know, back to the beginning that, you know, we'd like that approval as far as application with conditions and that the status of the escrow is paid so that we can provide that to the township. Now, totally understand if that, you know, if that means once we get to the township and they say, you know, that means connection fees, you know, totally understood that we have to deal with that at that time, and we will.
James, any realistic number when these easements would be obtained? I mean, I know they can go sideways fast. I don't know exactly how many you need, who you're going to get them all from. I mean, do we have any concept, any target dates, timelines?
I mean, if it were up to my client, it would have been yesterday, and I feel that acutely. So, and again, conditioned upon, you know, us bringing you guys back proof until we can get to the next level of building permits. I know my office is under, you know, there's a fire lit under us here to get it done and get it done promptly. So, you know, if I'm in this still same position with no words on paper by the fall, that's probably a failure for me. So we're looking to push this as expediently as possible, but also keep everybody in the loop and do it the right way.
Yeah, I'd like to see the, you know, legal get together because you're going to have to get a resolution before the council. And I really think the council is pro-business. I looked at this as a business and expanding EDUs into the sewer system. So if our legal eagles can work this out, you know, I'm in favor of it.
Yeah, just to add that, this is Mike. I'm also strongly in favor. We do need to increase our EDUs, and we want to, you know, we want this to move forward. Just for clarification, Rich, we have to pass some kind of resolution to approve this application. How does that work? And if it's something we have to do, can we get it on the next agenda?
Yes and yes. So particularly if there's going to be conditions that we're attaching to it, we want to be as thorough and as precise with those conditions. Obviously, we'd work in conjunction with James and his office, as well as with Josh and the township, to make sure that everyone has a level of comfort and that the resolution reflects the understanding of the parties regarding this project. James, you know, we meet again 2 Thursdays from now. Is that sufficient if we can work everything out and have a resolution on for approval at that point? Is your, I know your client wants to start, you know, 4 months ago, but is that going to be, you heard Councilman, or I apologize, Commissioner Shortway and Chair Fury indicate that both the township and obviously the MUA are pro-business, and I haven't asked this of the MUA yet, but if assuming that there is a desire to give you some sort of temporary approval to permit the foundation permits to issue, is that what you're looking for, or is, if we do it all in one shot at the next meeting, is that sufficient for your purposes?
Yeah, well, first of all, I appreciate you know, the offer to get this on in 2 weeks. I know, you know, it being summertime and also being in the land use realm, you know, getting a reso on a month after for some applications is sometimes a tall ask, so I appreciate that. You know, having said that, provided we can get this moved in 2 weeks, and 2 weeks, Pete, if you could just mute your microphone, Pete. Pete.
Yes.
Just mute your microphone. Thanks.
I don't want to do that.
Okay. Sorry about that. I mean, 2 weeks, you could look at it on one hand and say how much can be done, but I think we'd like to move forward, you know, as if it were a land use application that were approved, with kind of the acknowledgement of on the record this evening that we, you know, get some conditions out on the record, and but for it being memorialized, we can still move forward, you know, tomorrow if we needed to at least make the application. I'm sure there's going to be processing time in between. And, you know, I don't know that we get what we need until maybe 2 weeks anyway, but I wouldn't want to waste the 2 weeks and just, you know, be sitting on our hands for all intents and purposes. And that's not, you know, a criticism of anyone here. That's just, you know, if we can pick up days to make up time, you know, that's what we're interested in doing.
It's,
Yeah.
and James,
This is
I'm
Mike.
also on the council, and I set the agenda, but if you guys can work out the agreements and the MUA favors the agreement, I think maybe the first meeting in September, we can get a resolution up before the council. I don't know if you'd be able to hit it by the end of August, but it all depends. If we get this all worked out, I'll put it on the agenda for the council to vote on it.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah, this is just my opinion. I like to get something in writing for our next meeting to consider. I think all I can do is I promise you that we're going to have something on the next agenda, hopefully to approve, but at least to consider a resolution and to vote on it as an MUA, and we'll try to help it move along as quick as possible. We don't want to be the ones to hold up any kind of progress, and I promise you that we're going to work hard to meet that deadline.
Yeah, and you know, I think with the representations of everybody here, I think, you know, one, we have a better understanding of what we're all trying to accomplish. And I think I'll just reiterate, as I said just a moment ago, it's, you know, 2 weeks is 2 weeks, and it might seem like, oh, James, you know, why don't you just, you know, we're willing to work with you. Why don't you just give us the 2 weeks to put it on paper so everybody feels comfortable about it? And, you know, I can only say this way, you know, we're clearly eager and willing to work with you guys and move it forward. And, you know, even if best case scenario, we got whatever documents we needed in tomorrow, you know, I doubt we'd see something until next week. That's, you know, not a criticism of anyone. That's just, you know, the facts of how these type go. And, you know, if we were set to do work, you know, 2 weeks from now, I think it corresponds with the next meeting. And in the interim, you know, we work out the written reso. You know, we'd like to get it moving, but again, I know, you know, I've asked a lot tonight, and I appreciate your time this evening, but, you know, ask you guys to give that consideration for us to, you know, move forward, you know, tomorrow with application if we could.
All right, thank you, James.
Thank you.
Anything else? Any more questions from the MUA for these?
Yes. Or comments. Just three things on my mind. One, yeah, I don't know that we would want to act unless, you know, to change our procedures unless there is a clear impetus. So that should be part of I would think of the justification for the documentation that's being discussed. And I'm curious, Rich, and we don't have to answer now, but whether a performance bond might be a way to assure the board, you know, that there is follow through on the items that are being relieved. And then the third thing was, I think there was a discussion of characterizing this as if it were a land use board application. I think if it was a land use board application, that the applicant would pay the board's attorney's fees. I'm not sure if I recall that correctly, but that's my recollection.
Yeah, so you know, we did provide escrow for the MUA, so it's my understanding that covers your professional fees. With regards to, you know, work backwards, with regards to any type of bond requirement, I mean, again, you know, we've put in considerable time and expense for this. It will also cost with regards to permits that we need. And now I'm told for the first time this evening that it would also cost us, potential connection fees. So we're out of, and for 3 homes, I don't know what the math is, but we're already out a significant, or going to be into it for a significant amount, which, will be in the project. And really, again, the bonding requirements, at least as it's been revised in the MLUL, and I don't know per se with regards to utility authorities, but that's really to ensure that that the public infrastructure that would be undertaken is completed satisfactorily. And at this point, we're not asking to do that. We're not asking to break ground in the road. We're asking to put up foundations. So I think any type of bonding requirement with regards to public improvement, is just a little bit early at this point. And I guess the first point was with regards to, or maybe it escapes me, but again,
Hardship.
with regards to hardship, it's a measure of, as I briefly stated earlier, we've had the unique opportunity to get materials and resources in our possession. And I don't want to go into too much detail with regards to contractual obligations, but we are backing up against, deadlines and timeframes with regards to receive materials, and whereby if we can't, put them to use, so to speak, and start constructing in a timely manner, there will be penalties. And, I know that's not the MUA's concern. The MUA's concern is to, do things the right and proper way, and we're not trying to push any more than we potentially can. But, to the very first statement, we've put this on the radar of individuals from February, that this was going to be happening. So, it's just happening that, right now we're at the point where all these things are meeting all at once, and the rubber is kind of meeting the road. And, I can't really go into further, but there is an impetus with regards to materials and contractual obligations that is being acutely felt by the client at this time.
Anything else, Kristen?
No, I think that's it. Thank you.
Anything else from the rest of the board? Any other members? Comments, questions, concerns? With that, I want to thank you guys, thank everybody for the presentation, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Thank you.
I mean, is there any opportunity that MUA will consider a motion this evening? Rich or Mike?
I'm not. I can speak for myself. I'm not comfortable with making a motion to approve without having a written resolution in front of me with all the details. And that's at least my opinion. And I think that's, that, like I said, we can promise to get that prepared and ready for the next meeting. But I'm not personally prepared without, I appreciate all the information you gave, but I'm not going to make I'm not going to make any kind of motion to approve that without having a written document. I don't know how anybody else feels on the MUA. They agree with me, but that's my opinion.
I agree with Mike. I think this is, and now I'm hearing the first time tonight, just like you did, they need to pay the connection fee. So I think we have to do a little bit of research, and let's have it in writing and do it the right way. And also that way it's out, the public could also see.
I agree all as well. I mean, we got too many variables sitting here in front of us after all the notes I've taken that we can make a decision here tonight.
I think we've demonstrated that, we're pro going forward with this project, but, we just have to do it the right way, the process, and dissect all the information, ingest all the information, and take a good look at it before we vote. But again, I think we've demonstrated that we are in favor of the project. We just have to work out the technical difficulties and legal issues.
Yeah, and I'm, I don't know if, council, I'm not putting you on the spot at all, but is there any way through, what we've represented this evening where, we could have a voice vote on those conditions or go over them now so that we can move it forward, or, I see the council's, your council's advice.
Rich,
I give
Wait,
advice. I don't make my clients take my advice, and I think my client has spoken pretty clearly as to their preference on this matter. So I think we'll get it done in 2 weeks, and I'll leave it at that. Unless my client thinks otherwise,
No.
which I don't think it does.
No, I appreciate that, Rich. That's our position at this point. We seem like Harry says, we're all in favor and we want to move this forward. We just want to do it in the correct way.
But is it appropriate that the public be allowed to comment on this as well? Since I don't know, I'm just.
No, so it would be a resolution that would appear on the agenda, and of course the public could comment as part of its opportunity to comment on agenda items, but there would not be a public hearing, so to speak, on the resolution itself.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it'll be on the agenda. Thank you.
All right. We're gonna move on. I'm sorry, I lost my place here.
thank you for your input. Pete.
Yeah, thanks, James. Thank you very much. Oh, I lost the agenda here. Hold on, I got it. Next on the agenda, we're gonna is number. Sorry, I'll get back to it. Number 11. Do I have a motion to open to the public for items not on the agenda?
Motion to open to the public for items not on the agenda.
Second that motion.
Motion by Andy Pittsger, seconded by Dave McDermott. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? No opposition. Is there anybody in the public that wants to speak? Jackie or Danelle, do you see anybody?
No, we're good.
No.
And no emails.
All right,
No email.
so we want thank you. Somebody want to make a motion to close to the public?
Make motion close the floor to the public at this time.
Second.
Motion by Harry. I don't know who made the second. Was that Andy?
Dave.
Andy, Chris,
Right.
and Dave.
Oh,
We all did.
aye.
Come on.
Yeah.
Teamwork.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Okay, number 12, Commissioner comments. We're going to go to, we're going to choose Kristen Wheaton first.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Yeah, I just want to say good job on the board and our leadership for the EDU rate reduction. Sorry I was late and couldn't vote on that, but that's a really good thing. The rate reduction in connection fees. Just to alert the board, I will be away on the 19th as well as on the 2nd. So I'm going to miss the next 2 meetings.
Well, I hope it's for pleasure. So
It is, yeah, thank you.
I hope you enjoy.
Good for you.
Anything else, Kristen?
Nope, thank you, Mike.
All right, Dave McDermott.
Nothing to add at this time.
All right, thank you, Dave. Harry Shortway.
I just want to thank the commissioners for going forward and our professionals and our employees, I'd rather say team members, for getting this wastewater management plan moving forward, getting Pump House 2 moving forward, reducing the EDUs. I know you guys spent a lot of time working on all this, and I just really appreciate it. So I want to thank you all.
Thanks, Harry. Anything else?
Nothing else.
Scott Galway.
Hi, Mike. I don't really have anything for tonight. I echo Harry's sentiment too, and I'm hopeful that all works out and we get to move forward with the infrastructure plan for the town, because I believe it's the future of the town. So, but I don't really have anything else for comments for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Andy Pittsger.
I will reverberate what my colleagues have said. Everybody is just focused on getting everything done. And then, of course, I have tasks that I'm still looking at here. Steve, I'm going to hit you again. Project timeline plan for Pump Station 2. I think we talked about this, that we would put together a timeline. And
Yeah,
update
so
it.
we're correct, Andy. Absolutely. We talked about that last meeting. We're still trying to iron out the two.
That's the second time I've asked for it.
Oh, yeah. I know, Andy. I'm well aware. And I apologize that we don't have it. So we're trying to, the good news is it looks like the DEP permitting is hopefully moving quicker than one would expect, I would say.
Okay.
We're still, and there's some, and so the next steps with the iBank is going, basically, we need to have a meeting with the iBank so that we're on the same page on the next steps and the timeline for them. And I don't feel confident in giving you that schedule until we do that. So,
That's okay. Can you start giving me a checklist maybe of what the flow is here?
yes, yep, absolutely. Yep.
I think would benefit all of us because I mean, we get a piece here, a piece there, but
Yep.
a checklist, even if there's not a timeline, but you can add it later.
Okay.
So we're cool with
Absolutely. Okay.
that. So thank you.
Yes.
Hopefully I'll see you at next meeting.
Yes, I hope.
Okay. Otherwise, you're going to walk the line with me again for 2 more miles.
Yeah, I know. You're gonna call me at 9:30 again after the meeting?
Yeah, I'll do that. And then the other thing we mentioned is the possibility of putting together all these information that we're bringing out as a newsletter. We haven't done a newsletter in many years, and I don't know whether that's something I should throw up there as an idea. I don't know whether Jackie can help us out, or we need to bring a team of us together and try to put a couple paragraphs together in a newsletter for our users. So it's just a thought.
I agree, Andy. I think we should highlight all of the accomplishments, and we've had a lot of accomplishments. And I think we highlight in a newsletter that I think that's a good positive thing that we could put on the website. I think between Danelle and Jackie, maybe they could put a list, something together quickly, and we could look at it for the next meeting. I think it's worth doing.
Yeah, we can look at some of the old ones that were done. I think the last one was done was like what, 20, I don't even remember. I feel like I saw them a couple of weeks ago on our website.
Yeah, they were. 2016 is the last one I remember. Yeah. But I thought it might be good so that maybe we can get that off, and then maybe we can distribute it to our ratepayers at the next bill, something to show them, because we haven't increased the rates. We're saving money. We're putting some money away in the fund balance. We've got a lot of good things, and here we are updating equipment so that we don't have breakdowns. I mean, there's so much good stuff going on, and that's hats off to everybody in the field, in the professionals in the offices. So thank you all. That's my 2 cents.
All right. Thanks, Andy. As for me, I reiterate what everybody's saying, that the MUA is doing an outstanding job. Just we got to keep it up. The only thing I ask, and I ask, if this ordinance is on the council meeting on Monday, is to hopefully go to the meeting to show your support in any way possible. I think this ordinance for this funding for water and wastewater is critical to the MUA and the growth of the MUA. And if you could support that and show your support, I think that would help the town council, help them to vote, and hopefully it's in the positive. Other than that, I have nothing else to say. Want to thank everybody. You're doing a good job. I make a motion. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second that.
Motion by Kristen Wheaton, seconded by Andy Pittsger. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Have a nice night, everyone.
Have a nice night, all.
Everyone,
Good
thank
evening.
you.
Bye,
Take care.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Night, everyone. Thanks.